All right, so welcome to our call here. I am going to share my screen and I am going to get this going right here. All right, so welcome everybody to our bull session. We used to do these way back in the day, actually in person. If folks have questions, you can put them in the chat, and we will sort of try to get to those as we go. It is, this is a good time to ask questions and sort of see what's going on. Let's get started. Um, all right, so this email went out from Patrick and the team earlier today. Right, we're in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Soccer and other sports are starting playoffs. It is really important that you keep your calendar blocks up to date, and it's really important that the R contact the home team 48 hours prior to the contest. I know that you may get the game the day before because somebody gets pulled off. But as soon as you get games in this time of the season, you got to reach out to the home coach and just copy all the people on your crew. We've had multiple incidents this week, including today, of people showing up and their partner not being there or the game being canceled and they forgot to tell people. So it's just important that we do our due diligence. That being said, I sent an email to the coach at Lovett for a game that didn't exist because I conflated a whole bunch of stuff. And as Coach Busick said, I was on a bender. I was on like a 9 games in 12 days, and I was just treading water. Like everybody understands that there's a lot going on at this time of the season.
Greg, you're sharing
Oh,
your
I'm
other
sharing the wrong
screen.
screen. Hold on
Right.
one sec. Let me stop. Sorry, I got a new setup here and I'm trying to figure it out. Um, this is desktop too.
There you go.
There we go. Um, so, with it being the last 2 weeks of the season, it's really important that you recognize that these are not all just games. Um, Playoff implications are on the line. The way the system here works is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the top two teams um, get in, or is it four for
Top
each region?
three. That's what it
Top
looks like.
But it depends on the area and region.
Okay, so for some of these games, it's going to be really important. What you're looking at is the rankings here on Max Preps. If you do not know Max Preps, you can go and you can click on the regions in Georgia. I'll put that in the newsletter tomorrow. It's you just want to make sure you know you're walking into a playoff level intensity sort of consequences type of game. Do not just assume that it's just these two teams playing each other, right? We need to be aware of the implications of what's going on. Um, there are no games on Easter, so if you got Easter plans, you're all good to go. Again, pre-game communication. Contact the home team and the crew 48 hours before the game. It's imperative. And again, if you get an email or a text from an R, respond immediately. If you cannot make the game, contact the assigners immediately. It's really important. Um, Save the dates, put these in your calendar. Again, it'll go out in a newsletter tomorrow. Our end of season banquet is not going to be at 2022 but it will be on May 18th, 2025, between 2 and 6 p.m. We are finalizing the location. We will let you know as soon as possible. We are also going to host our first annual golf tournament October 16th out at the Dogwood golf course in Austell. That's been out there for a couple of weeks. So, if you're interested in helping Herbert Phillips, who's spearheading this, please reach out to him if you want to help set up booths, if you can get your company to sponsor a hole, if you know people that might want to get involved in this, and Herbert can point you in the right direction there. Pete's got some information for folks. If you have not been paid by GLOA in the past, you have to submit a W-9 form. We can't pay anybody without one. If you want to get your payments from Zelle, no fees and instantaneous transfer, please provide your Zelle account information to him as soon as possible. The only other option is a check sent by the United States Postal Service. So if you want that money quickly, get him your Zelle information. If you have moved since your last payment or your bank has changed, you need to contact him as well. Do not text him. Please send it by email so that he can track that. His email address is in Arbiter. You can find that pretty easily.
Yeah, Zell doesn't charge us anything. I'll put Pete's email address in the chat.
Okay. Memorial funds. Consider donating to our memorial funds. You can email Pete your donation. You can say, hey, take 2 game checks out or take $200 out. So whatever you want to do. We've got the Ron Maloney and the Kevin Moore Fund. The Ron Maloney Fund goes to fund kids to go to the Georgia Tech Summer Lacrosse Camp. And the Kevin Moore Fund is for us to do observations and training programs and all sorts of stuff. So that is money that we give back and put back into the association. Observation update, huge kudos to Julius Milton and Don Stoppenbach. We have done 36 observations to date. And 24 of those are for officials who have never been observed before. So I think we're really starting to get a lot of information out there to people who have not gotten this kind of feedback before. And so I think we're doing a great job of targeting these. If you want an observation, please email Julius Milton or call him. You can reach out to him and we can talk about what the options are. And a few more will likely be scheduled as we move towards the playoffs. So, recognize that this is a great opportunity to get feedback on what you need to improve and what the path looks like for you as you move along in your career. All right, JV overtime rules. This is not in the rule book. As you are becoming a more senior official, you got to be aware of what we call the GHSA Constitution and Bylaws, or what we really call the White Book. This is all the GHSA modifications. So this is stuff like, hey, it's not a 12-goal differential for Georgia games in the second half. It is a 10-goal differential at any point in the game. One of the other modifications is that there is no overtime in sub-varsity competition. It does not matter. Basically, it's a scheduling thing. Usually you've got a JV game and then you've got the varsity game. They're not waiting around to find out who the JV team victor is, right? They need to get that varsity game started and get it over with so kids can get back home and do homework and go to bed and get school, and we can do the same thing. So,
Greg, can I add
yeah.
one point here?
Yeah.
If you have a game that starts late because the JV game, didn't give enough time in between games, or a girls' game started late, you guys got to let us know when that stuff happens. So that way we can keep track and then bring it up to GHSA after the season. Happened to me earlier this year, but just in general, like stuff like that happens. That's why we ask everyone to fill out an instant report if anything abnormal happens. Because if we could track it, then we can make a case to GHSA that these games need to be scheduled an hour 45 to 2 hours apart instead of an hour and a half.
Yeah. And submit a game report. right? Just because you submit an incident report doesn't necessarily mean we send it to GHSA. Sometimes we just keep all that information together, we'll compile it, and then we'll have a meeting with them. So again, incident reports are not just for ejections, right? Anything weird that happens, let us know. And if you want, you can get to the GHSA Constitution and Bylaws. You can go to the GHSA website, but I also have a link on our resources page on GA LaxRef. So you can check all that out. Hey, let's talk about definition of a goal, because there was some confusion earlier this year. Again, the definition is a goal is scored when a loose ball passes the front completely through the imaginary plane formed by the rear edge of the goal line, goalpost, and crossbar of the goal. Regardless of who supplied the impetus, a goal will be allowed if the shot is released prior to the end of a period. So the only thing we need to know about a goal is the ball loose, so it is not in player possession. If you are a goalie and you have your cradling and you go back to make a pass and the ball passes in your cross past that line, it's not a goal because that's a ball in possession. The ball has to be loose. And it says later on in this, impetus is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how the ball gets in there. Some of the confusion comes from a valid shot. So a shot is considered a ball propelled towards the goal by an offensive player with the intent of scoring a goal. A shot can only be made when the ball is parallel to or above goal line extended. Additionally, it can be either thrown from across, kicked, or otherwise physically directed. The key here in this definition in Rule 1 is how you treat a shot versus a pass when the ball goes out of bounds, not whether it goes into the goal, right? So if you release the ball from below goal line extended and it hits a player's helmet and bounces into the goal, we're going to call that a goal, right? However, if it goes out of bounds because it was released from below goal line extended, we are not going to call that a goal. We are going to call that a pass or a shot. We're going to call that a pass, and we're going to award it to whoever last touched it doesn't get it. You give it to the other team. So let's make sure we know that. Okay. Again, you're going to wave off a goal if you have a whistle and a timeout is granted. I had that yesterday. Team A is in the crease, touches the goal net or goalkeeper prior to the ball in the goal. A and B are offsides. Head of the scorer's cross comes off. Anybody else's head comes off or any stick that breaks, it's the head of the scorer's cross that we are going to wipe a goal off with. Scorer's cross is found to be illegal, or you adjust it afterward after the official requests it. If you're the person who made the assist, you are not, and you find that cross to be illegal, you are not wiping off a goal. It has to be the guy that shot the ball. Flag down, slow whistle on the scoring team. Player jumps or dives into the crease before or after the ball enters the goal, and of course released before the horn, but it strikes team A, or hits goalkeeper or pipe, and then anything else. Okay. And rebounds after a second flag during a flag down, slow whistle, score in progress kind of deal. These are the lists of things that we are going to wipe a goal off for. If it's not on this list, we're going to count that goal. Imagine this. You make a pass to a guy on the crease. The guy misses it, and it goes in the goal. We're counting that as a goal. He did not intend to shoot, but the ball went in the goal. It meets the definition in Section 8 here. All right. Oh, and then not in goal if it's on the side of the net, but right. And then batted off of Team A's free hand, right? Illegal touching. Team timeouts. Anybody on the field can call timeout when the ball is dead, or the head coach can request a timeout. During play, team timeouts can be called anywhere on the field by a member of the team in possession. So you don't need to be the player in possession. One of your teammates can call for a timeout. And again, the team's head coach can call a timeout. a team shall be limited to 4 non-consecutive timeouts. You can't call a timeout and then immediately call another timeout. You've got to have the clock run in between. And fun fact here, if you call a timeout at halftime, which you are allowed to do, it is charged to the previous half. So if you've got an extra timeout, you can use it at halftime if you think you're going to be delayed. Again, the point really here is get in the rule book, read the rules, get back in there. Don't just assume that you know these things, and then give us a call. Like, I'm happy to talk about rules. Happy to talk about all of this stuff with any of you guys. So, but make sure you're in the rule book. It's not. I heard from a guy who said that one time, what does it say in the rule book? And then let's have the conversation. Issue that has come up, and we'll get to some sort of fun video here in a second. The idea here is scoring play in progress. The ball has to be in the offensive half. If you're going to allow somebody to try to continue a play, if you have a second flag down, and this is Rule 8-2, Situation C, you got to continuously advance towards the goal. The ball cannot go behind GLE. If behind at the time of the foul, once you're above, you can't go below again. You're allowed a one shot, and the ball may not hit the ground. So unless it's a shot. So if somebody drops the ball, you're going to kill the play. Okay. And so let's take a look at these two video clips, and sort of see what's going on. So we have a flag down here. I like the guy, you don't blow it dead. So here we go. We've got a flag down. Clearly an illegal hit. But I think we've got to allow this to continue. The only thing I might say is, hold on, let me get to here. Right there, he's right at GLE, this attackman who's one-on-one with the goalie, right? I'm not going to be that good. To me, that's not below GLE. That is at GLE. So I think we should allow this play to continue. And again, I think we do a nice job here. This is clearly an illegal body check or a push, and we've got a flag down. So we've got to throw another flag. But we should not kill this play. Here's another example. And again, we do a nice job here of getting the hits. And if we're going to screw something up, let's screw up the second flag down weird rule thing. But let's continue to get the big hits here. So here's another.
Oh, it's high, cross check.
I called it.
Oh!
Okay, so we've got multiple fouls here, but we clearly have. So look, I mean, this is a brutal hit right there. But we got the ball being shot right here. And so, again, if we're going to screw something up, let's get the big hits and miss the goal. But be aware of where the ball is, and if you have a scoring play in progress. We've got the flags. Take a moment and just think to yourself, is there a scoring play in progress? Does it meet the definition? If no, kill the play. And so, we're getting, again, into more critical games, and we need to be aware of let's walk through these situations so that we can get it right in our head, so that when we get onto the field, we can try to get it right. Anybody got questions about that? Anything in the chat, Pat? All right, we're good. Hey, stick check mechanics, 3-man. I've done a lot of observations this year. I've worked a lot of high school games. So let's do the stick check mechanics the proper way we're supposed to do stick check mechanics. The umpire and the field judge and the referee, the single, the trail, the lead, all have responsibilities here. So the lead should grab the cross of the player of the bench they're in front of. So if we are down on the right side of the screen here of this field, whoever's the lead is going to grab the blue bench stick or a blue player stick, and whoever the trail is going to grab a red stick, right? The single always gets the ball. Just assume that we are doing a stick check, right? You can always hand it back. Just because you grab somebody's cross does not mean you automatically are like, have sworn a blood oath to measure that cross. If you grab a face-off guy's stick and you're like, I don't really want to do this stick, just hand it back to the kid. You don't have to do that check, okay? Make sure that the umpire and the field judge are facing in. They hold the crosses. The referee does all of the measuring. The umpire and the field judge do the rollout tests, okay? What this does is it allows us to come together and have a discussion about what this penalty might be, if we think this stick is illegal, what we might want to do. Are we just going to let it go and warn the kid that it's close? We should not be doing this separately, individually, stick between your legs. Let's do it the way it's meant to be done. And it's, again, a great opportunity for us to come together and make sure we all know what's going on in the contest. Reporting penalties. Remember, line of sight, stand still, slow down, C note, color, number, offense, time, explanation. This is a great example of an official doing a great penalty report, right? Points to the team, gives the symbol. We got offsides, 30 seconds. You want to announce when the penalty releases. If you've got a scoreboard that puts the penalty time up on the scoreboard, give them a minute before you restart play so that they can get it up there. It just takes a lot of pressure off you of having to know when that penalty is released and how many guys you got to count. And coaches aren't yelling at you anymore. When does it release? When does it release? Take your time here. There is no rush to restart in this situation. Quick thing, loose ball technical fouls. I'm seeing a lot of people say blue 52 held red 36 and you can't do that. And so we're going to go this way. Keep it simple. If you don't have a flag, we know that it's a loose ball foul. Push, blue ball, right? Especially on face-off violations. Doing the 1970s disco illegal procedure signal doesn't tell anybody anything. Just point the direction. That's what they want to know. And then you can go over or yell across and be like, he went early. He was in the neutral zone, right? It's the face-off coach that needs to know that. And the kid needs to know that. But push, blue, hold, red. Just keep it simple. The less you say, the better. We don't need to give numbers. Do not give the color of who's doing the foul. Only give the color of who you're awarding the ball to. Restarts. No offensive player within 5 yards. You can't have a defensive player. Make sure we're pulling it out of the attack area if team A is getting it. And here's the big thing. Make sure your partner is in the correct spot. This is especially on over and back, offsides, and crease violations. So here is an example. The new lead does not have this restart. The new lead needs to get down to the goal. I believe this is a two-man game. The trail has to come up. So what you want to do is to say, wait for the whistle, and then you want to take off. Okay? But we should not be trying to race 17-year-olds on a regular basis. That is a recipe for disaster. So give yourself time to get down, at least get a running start before your partner comes up in order to do that restart. In the case of a three-man game, the single's going to have that restart, and they should already be heading up to the field once they see the ball rolling towards the midline.
Greg, may I make a comment on this?
Yeah.
One additional thing, and this actually even happened in a college game this past week, where we had an over and back, and the ball rolled down to about the 35-yard line, and the single finally, the guy finally picked it up, put it, the over and back never got called, or it got called, but he let him pick it up at the 35 without bringing him back.
Yeah.
And what I want to say to that is, because the official said, I didn't want to take away his advantage. And guys, there is no advantage on the over and back. The advantage is that a team is entitled to the ball.
Yep.
They are not entitled to an advantage. They are entitled to the ball and a proper restart. They are not entitled to an advantage.
Yeah, they don't get the 30 yards. They got to bring it back to the midline. If somebody, catches it in their cross on a pass, sure, let that go. But if it's rolling, just bring it back to the midline. Here's another example.
Wesley ball.
Here's the problem. Single does the proper thing. We have a restart. But in this case, the new trail has come way too quickly up and is not staying behind the play. You have to, as an official, take a look at where your partners are. If we're not ready, we should not restart play. So,
With the save.
goalie makes the save here, but if we have bodies in the crease, we don't have anybody close enough, right?
Wesley ball.
I mean, this is the single who's 25 yards away. We've got to keep our trail officials back behind the play because your primary responsibility is that goal. So let's make sure we're doing that.
So out of bounds mechanics again. I
Oh,
cannot
wait,
stress
let me,
this enough. If I am working games,
we're going to do the out of bounds mechanics. This is what I want to see,
One of the things
right?
I like to
If you're doing the out of bounds mechanic, get that hand up, right? Get that hand up, because a lot of times, particularly in some of these bigger games, your clock operator is going to be in a air-conditioned booth with chicken wings and all sorts of good stuff in there, and they're not going to necessarily be able to hear the whistle. So your hand up tells everybody that we have a dead ball. Don't get lazy with just by pointing and then putting your hand down. Hand up, whistle, point, hand back up until you're ready, and then you're going to wind from the hand up. To kind of wrap things up, I want to show you some. This was a great game that I watched. These guys officiate, you're about to see. I thought they called a really good game, but there were some screens that weren't quite matching up over the course of the game. And it's screens that you do not actually see very often unless you're working higher level games. So I wanted to make you guys aware of this. So no offensive player can move into and make contact with a defensive player for the purpose of blocking them. And you've got to have your cross rigid and straight up and down, and your feet have to be, shoulder width. We all know that, and we've seen examples of that a million times. But you've also got interference, where you're not allowed to play somebody more than 5 yards away from the ball. So I want to show you a couple of examples of. This is a fairly standard screen here. Okay, this is a screen that we've all seen a million times. You're gonna see over here in the top, sort of middle of the screen on the lead side here. You can see right? Red's going to come up and he's going to, right, is he moving? I don't know. That's kind of a 50-50 call there. It's not a great angle from the film, but that's the sort of standard, hey, he's moving, that's an illegal pick that we're all going to see. I want to show you a different look, right? I want to show you what's happening. I want you to watch the right on the crease. What is happening here? Do you see what 42 Green is trying to do? This is a great call, by the way. 42 Green is trying to, he's coming down here. He is trying to get in the way of this defender so that his buddy can pop out and have basically a 7-yard shot on the goalie. That's what they are trying to do. And so as you get to higher level games, if you're off ball as the single, you really need to be watching the crease because this is the kind of play that you're likely going to see. This is a great call right here. I mean, this guy's feet are, he's in the Vlade Divac position. His feet are way too wide. He's moving. He's clearly trying to get in the way of this guy to free up his buddy for a shot. Now, you've heard me talk a zillion times about matching fouls. So this is the same game, and I want to watch. And the reason this came to our attention is one of the coaches emailed and said, I thought it was inconsistent how they called moving picks and interference. So watch this play. Do we see 6 Green? 6 Green. Looks what he's doing. He's trying to set up. He sees the double, so he pins this guy in, and he's moving as he's trying to get through to free up 13 from having a shot. Same game, same team, right? This is what they are trying to do. And so it's important that we are watching for this. And again, we make a nice call here. We get this call. Same game. If we're going to have those two earlier, we have got to get this one. That's clearly a standard garden variety moving pick. So here comes 13. He is at no point set. So one of the things I think we need to think about, and this is what you should be talking about with your crew when you are in those timeouts and doing those stick checks is, guys, we've had a bunch of moving screens. We really need to zero in on moving screens. We've set a bar for either 50-50 are moving, or we've seen a couple of plays where they're trying to do stuff on the crease. You got to be aware of that. And we've got to have this call here. Last thing I will say is dead ball officiating in the last couple of weeks of the season is going to become real important because these games are becoming more and more important. So watch. Call a timeout.
No way! No way! That was 5 seconds after!
All right. Who's watching the play?
No way!
We have to have the trail official here stand at the wing and wait until everybody is in their own little realm and in their huddles before we come together. We can let it go. We can wait a few seconds until that happens. We get away with it here, and a lot of times we get away with it. But you got to discipline yourselves to make sure that you're really watching what is going on, right? So this is what I tell my kids in school, do the thing. And they say, what's the thing? And I was like, that's the thing you need to do. So, make sure we are doing our our due diligence. Make sure that we are getting in the rule book. We're sending the emails. We're in the right position. We're looking at the right stuff. Pick a couple of things that you got to work on. Watch game film, but our job is to get it right, and we have a high standard. I will tell you that in talking to coaches, and we just talked about it on the board meeting. I mean, I've heard very good things about how this season is going so far. I've had multiple coaches tell me that they've thought that the level of officiating was really great this year. We've got some great rookies. We've got some guys who've transferred in. We've got some guys who are really making really important strides. So, as the board, we thank you for all the work and the time that you've put into this, and we really appreciate it. So there's always room to get better. So keep working at it, and we look forward to seeing you out there in the field. Pat, Mike, do you guys have anything to add? All right, Fleury's email address, if you need to email him regarding W-9 or payment or anything like that. Remember the banquet and the golf tournament, and we will see you guys on the flip side. Thank you so much.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Greg.